Stop comparing. Start becoming. There's a habit that many of us have, and it's so common that we barely notice we're doing it. We compare ourselves to other people. We look at someone else's life, their success, their skills, their appearance, and we measure ourselves against them. And almost always, we come up short. We feel like we're not as good, not as far along, not as talented. This comparison happens quietly, in the background of our minds. But it affects everything. It affects how we feel about ourselves, how much we try, and how much joy we find in our own progress. Today, I want to talk about why comparing yourself to others is one of the most damaging things you can do, and what happens when you stop. When you stop comparing and start becoming, everything changes. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at someone else and thought, I wish I was more like them? Maybe it was someone on social media with a perfect-looking life. Maybe it was a coworker who seems so confident and capable. Maybe it was another English learner who speaks more fluently than you do. In that moment, how did you feel? Probably not very good. Probably a little smaller, a little less proud of yourself. That's what comparison does. It takes away your peace. It turns your own journey into a competition you didn't sign up for. And the worst part is, it's a competition you can never win, because there will always be someone ahead of you in some way. Here's the truth about comparison. It's unfair from the start. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You see their success, but you don't see their struggles. You see where they are now, but you don't see where they started or how long it took them to get there. You see their strengths, but you don't see their weaknesses. It's like watching a movie and only seeing the final scene. You miss the whole story. And then you judge your own messy, complicated, still unfolding story against their polished ending. Of course, you feel inadequate. But that feeling isn't based on reality. It's based on incomplete information. Let me tell you about someone I knew. His name was David. David was learning to play guitar. He'd always wanted to play, and finally, in his 30s, he decided to start taking lessons. At first, he was excited. He practiced every day. His fingers hurt from pressing the strings, but he didn't mind because he was learning something new. He could play a few simple songs, and that felt amazing. But then he made a mistake. He joined an online group for guitar players. He thought it would be motivating to connect with other people who were learning. And at first, it was. But then he started noticing something. Other people in the group were posting videos of themselves playing complicated songs. Songs that sounded beautiful and professional. Some of these people had only been playing for a year or two, and they were already so much better than him. David started to feel discouraged. He would practice, but instead of enjoying it, he would think about those other players. He would think, I've been playing for 6 months, and I still can't do what they can do. Maybe I'm just not musical. Maybe I started too late. Maybe I don't have talent. He stopped posting his own videos because he felt embarrassed. His practice sessions became shorter and less frequent. The joy was gone. He wasn't comparing himself to his past self anymore. He was comparing himself to strangers on the internet, and he was losing. One day, His guitar teacher noticed that David seemed frustrated, so he asked him what was wrong. David explained about the online group and how much better everyone else seemed to be. His teacher nodded and said something David never forgot. He said, "You're trying to run someone else's race, but they're not running your race. They have different starting points, different circumstances, different goals. Some of them might have played piano as kids, so their fingers already know how to move. Some of them practice 3 hours a day because they don't have jobs or families. Some of them have been playing longer than they say. You don't know their story. But even if you did, it wouldn't matter, because your job isn't to be better than them. Your job is to be better than you were yesterday." That conversation changed everything for David. He realized that comparison had stolen his joy and his progress. So he decided to stop. He left the online group. He stopped looking at what other people could do. Instead, he started keeping a simple journal. Every week, he would write down one thing he could do now that he couldn't do before. Maybe it was a new chord. Maybe it was switching between chords more smoothly. Maybe it was playing a song all the way through without stopping. These were small things, but they were real. And when he focused on his own growth instead of other people's abilities, something beautiful happened. He started enjoying guitar again. He practiced more. And because he practiced more, he got better. Not as fast as some people, maybe, but faster than he would have if he'd given up. This is what comparison does. It distracts you from your own path. It makes you focus on the wrong things. Instead of thinking about your own goals and your own progress, you're thinking about someone else's achievements, and that doesn't help you grow. In fact, it usually does the opposite. It makes you feel bad, and when you feel bad, you don't perform well. You become hesitant. You second-guess yourself. You might even stop trying altogether. Comparison is like running a race, while constantly looking sideways at the other runners. You're going to trip. You're going to lose speed. You're going to forget why you started running in the first place. But here's what happens when you stop comparing. When you stop looking sideways and start looking forward. You remember your own reasons. You remember why you started. Maybe you're learning English because you want to travel, or get a better job, or connect with people from other countries. Maybe you're exercising because you want to feel healthier and stronger. Maybe you're working on a creative project because it brings you joy. Those reasons are yours. They have nothing to do with being better than someone else. They're about becoming the person you want to be. And when you focus on that, when you focus on becoming instead of comparing, you make real progress. Becoming is a beautiful word. It means you're not finished yet. You're not supposed to be perfect right now. You're in process. You're growing. You're learning. You're evolving into something new. And that process is personal. It's not a competition. There's no leaderboard. There's no prize for being better than everyone else. The only question that matters is, are you becoming who you want to become? Are you moving toward your goals? Are you learning and growing? If yes, then you're succeeding. It doesn't matter if someone else is moving faster or achieving more. Their journey is theirs. Your journey is yours. I want to share something with you. I used to compare myself to other teachers all the time. I would watch experienced teachers lead their classes with such ease and confidence, and I would feel so inadequate. They seemed to know exactly what to say. Their students loved them. Everything looked effortless. Meanwhile, I was nervous and unsure. I made mistakes. Some of my lessons didn't work. I felt like I was failing, and the more I compared myself to those other teachers, the worse I felt. I started to think maybe I wasn't cut out for teaching. Maybe I should do something else. But then something happened. I had a conversation with one of those teachers I admired. I told her how impressed I was by her teaching and how far behind I felt. She smiled and said, "You know, I felt the same way when I started. I watched other teachers and thought I would never be like them. But then I realized something. I didn't need to be like them. I needed to be like me. I had my own strengths, my own style, my own way of connecting with students. And the more I focused on developing that instead of copying others, the better I became. That conversation changed my perspective. I stopped trying to be like other teachers and started trying to be the best version of myself. And, ironically, that's when I actually became a good teacher. So, how do you stop comparing? How do you break this habit? The first step is to notice when you're doing it. Pay attention to your thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, "They're so much better than me," or "I wish I was more like them," pause. Recognize that you're comparing, and then gently redirect your attention. Ask yourself a different question. What can I learn from this person? Or, what's one thing I can do today to improve? Shift from comparison to curiosity, from jealousy to inspiration. You can admire someone without diminishing yourself. The second step is to limit your exposure to comparison triggers. If scrolling through social media makes you feel bad about yourself, spend less time there. If being in certain groups or around certain people makes you feel inadequate, it's okay to step back. Protect your mental space. Surround yourself with things and people that support your growth, not things that make you feel small. The third step is to track your own progress. Keep a record of where you started and where you are now. Write down your wins, even small ones. Take photos. Keep old work to compare to new work. When you have concrete evidence of your own growth, it's harder to feel like you're not making progress. You can see it right in front of you. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. You've learned. You've grown. You've become more capable. And here's the fourth step, and maybe the most important one. Celebrate other people's success without making it about you. When you see someone doing well, instead of thinking, "I'm not as good as them," try thinking, "That's wonderful for them. I'm happy for them." Their success doesn't diminish yours. There's enough room in the world for everyone to succeed. In fact, when you can genuinely celebrate other people, you free yourself from the burden of comparison. You stop seeing them as competitors and start seeing them as fellow travelers on their own unique paths. Think about it this way. Imagine a garden with many different plants. There are roses, sunflowers, tulips, and daisies. Each plant grows at its own pace. Each one blooms in its own time. Each one has its own beauty. The rose doesn't look at the sunflower and think, "I should be taller." The tulip doesn't look at the daisy and think, I should have more petals. Each plant just grows according to its own nature. And the garden is beautiful because of the variety, not in spite of it. You are like one of those plants. You have your own timeline, your own strengths, your own way of blooming. Comparing yourself to others is like a rose trying to become a sunflower. It's pointless, and it prevents you from becoming the best rose you can be. When you stop comparing and start becoming, you reclaim your energy. All that mental and emotional energy you were spending on comparison is now available for actual growth. You can focus on learning instead of worrying. You can enjoy the process instead of stressing about the outcome. You can take risks and make mistakes without feeling ashamed because you're not performing for an invisible audience. You're just living your life, doing your best, and becoming who you're meant to be. And here's the beautiful thing. When you focus on your own growth, you often end up progressing faster than you did when you were comparing yourself to others. Because you're not held back by self-doubt and discouragement. You're not wasting energy on jealousy and inadequacy. You're just moving forward, one step at a time, trusting your own process. And that trust, that focus, that self-compassion, those are the things that lead to real, lasting growth. So I want to encourage you today to make a decision. Decide to stop comparing. Decide to focus on your own journey. Decide to measure your progress against your past self, not against other people. Ask yourself regularly, am I better than I was last month? Am I learning? Am I growing? Am I moving toward my goals? If the answer is yes, then you're doing well. You're succeeding. You don't need anyone else's validation or approval. You don't need to be the best. You just need to keep becoming. Your life is your own unique story. Nobody else can live it for you. Nobody else has your exact combination of experiences, challenges, strengths, and dreams. So stop trying to live someone else's story. Stop measuring yourself by someone else's timeline. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Just focus on writing your own story. One page at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Focus on becoming. And trust that if you keep growing, keep learning, keep moving forward, you'll end up exactly where you're meant to be. Stop comparing. Start becoming. Those 4 words could change your life if you let them. They did for me, they did for David, and I believe they can for you too.